Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, Chapter 8, entitled Talks Between the Lord and Ramananda Rai. Text number 1. Sancharya Rama Bhida Bhakta Meghe Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani Gaurabdhirete Namuna Vitirnais Tadgyatvaratnalayatam prayati Sancharya Rama Bhida Bhakta Meghe Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani Gaurabdhirete Ramuna Vitirnais Tadgyatvaratnalayatam prayati Sancharya Rama Bhiga Bhakta Meghe Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani Gaurabdhirete Ramuna Vitirnais Tadgyatvaratnalayatam prayati Rama Bhida Bhakta Bhakti Siddhanta Sayam Sancharya Rama Bhida Bhakta Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayamritam Gaurabdhirete Ramuna Vitirnais Sancharya Rama Bhida Bhakta Meghe Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayamritam Gaurabdhirete Ramuna Vitirnais Tadgyatvaratnalayatam Mataji. Sancharya Rama Bhida Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayamritam Gaurabdhirete Ramuna Vitirnais Tadgyatvaratnalayatam Sancharya, by empowering Rama Bhida of the name Rama, Bhakta Meghe, in the cloud-like devotee, Swabhakti of his own devotional service, Siddhanta of conclusion, Jaya all collections, Amritani nectar, Gaurabhi the ocean known as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Etaihi by these, Amuna by the cloud known as Ramananda Rai, Vitirnaihi distributed, Tadgyatva of knowledge of devotional service, Ratna Alayatam the quality of being an ocean containing valuable jewels, Prayati achieved. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is known as Gauranga, is the ocean of all conclusive knowledge and devotional service. He empowered Sri Ramananda Rai, who may be likened to a cloud of devotional service. This cloud was filled with the water of all the conclusive purports of devotional service and was empowered by the ocean to spread this water over the sea of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Thus, the ocean of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became filled with the jewels of the knowledge of pure devotional service. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasma. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tina Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachar Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshadar He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kantanam Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Jaivacha Paditanam Tavani Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Jivasari Gaura Bhaktam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama. Hare Krishna. First of all, I would like to sincerely beg forgiveness for the delay in starting this class. This is supposed to end now, actually. So, but I'm extremely grateful to all of you for extending yours to see. Today is the very auspicious day of the disappearance day of Sri Ramananda Rai, one of the most intimate associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, I just thought we can speak something on about him. We all know Lord Chaitanya is none other than Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahiyanya. And Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai, in addition to very few other intimate associates, were, of course, they are none other than Lalita and Vishakha Sakhi. Ramananda Rai is also, in Gaur Ganodhash Deepika, it is also mentioned that he is Vishakha Sakhi and also an Amsha of Arjun, one of the intimate associates of Lord Krishna. Now, Lord Chaitanya had principally 5 most important conversations which form the essence of his teachings. And Srila Prabhupada, not being sure whether he would be able to translate Bhagavatam and CC fully, just like before even beginning translation of Srimad Bhagavatam, all the works, he first gave the Krishna book, knowing that in case I'm not able to complete the whole Bhagavatam 12 cantos, at least the essence of Bhagavatam, the 10th canto summary is there. Similarly, even before he gave the whole world Chaitanya Charitamrita in English, he actually wrote teachings of Lord Chaitanya, where briefly his life and mostly his teachings are elaborately explained. And basically in that there are 5 principal conversations that Lord Chaitanya had. Now, first with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he transformed him. Then when he went on South Indian tour, he had a conversation with Ramananda Rai, the Ramananda Samvad, practically like a question answer. Then when he came back, second time he went to Vrindavan, then he had a elaborate discussion with Prakashananda Saraswati. Then when he went to Varanasi, he had a 2-month-long discussion with Sanatan Goswami. And 10 days at Prayag, he had a conversation with Rupa Goswami. So these 5 conversations comprise practically the essence of Lord Chaitanya's teachings. And that has been summarized in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, book by Srila Prabhupada. Interestingly, with Sanatan Goswami, who is our Sambandha Acharya, he gave the Sambandha Gyan, which is one of the most elaborate teachings. Sambandha develops with the Lord when we know more about the Lord. So the opulence of the Lord, the beauty of the Lord is so technically, elaborately, very descriptively described in this particular section. 2 months they had a discussion. And then with Rupa Goswami, who is our Rasacharya, Abhidheya Gyan, how to establish that relationship, re-establish our relationship, lost relationship, because we have eternal relationship. No one can ever be separate from Krishna. Mamaivaamsho Jivaloke Jivabhuta Sanatan. Jiver Swarup hoy, Krishna Nityadas. But then we have become Bahirmukh. So how to re-establish that relationship through Abhideya was given to Rupa Goswami, who later, on the instructions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he told the 6 Goswamis essentially 4 instructions. He said, reveal the holy sites of Vrindavan, lost sites of Vrindavan, and then establish temples and establish proper deity worship. Also, write the conclusion of scriptures, Nana Shastra Vicharane Kanipuno, Sadharma Samsapakam. And then not only write, but also establish proper Vaishnava behavior, etiquette, lifestyle, attitude of a Vaishnava. So these were the 2 conversations. And with Ramananda Rai, it was of the Prayojana Gyan. With Prakashananda Saraswati defeating Mayavad, which is one of the main reasons Mayavadi Bhashya Samilya Hoy, Sarvanash, how the very, very minute trace of little service attitude that we have towards the Lord also is extinguished if we hear about the oneness of the Lord and the living entity, thinking that everything is only one, there's no differentiation. So, and then with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, dry logic, he himself says later, Tarkika Shrigala Sange Bhyu Bhyu Kori, Ebe Sei Mukhe Sada Bole Krishna Hari. So I was like such a dry logician, eating dry oil cakes which has been squeezed already. I was just trying to squeeze, I was trying to get some juice out of it. Tarkika Shrigala Sange Bhyu. No, I didn't know Bhyu Bhyu, this thing, but first time I went to Mayapur, I heard this. Oh, this funny, I was wondering, I thought some kids are playing. First time I heard what do you call it? Huh? Those animals, nobody, jackals. Yeah, Shrigala is jackal. Tarkika Shrigala Sange Bhyu Bhyu. The first time I heard what is this Bhyu Bhyu is. Mayapur Dham, many things are revealed. Then the purports of CC is also understood in more deeper. It's simply nuisance. They may sing their, singing sweet songs, but it's simply nuisance. So, Ebe sei mukhe sada boli Krishna Hari. Now, with that same mouth, I'm actually emitting nectar. That is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. So, in 2 conversations, Pratikulya Savarjanam, and in 3 more conversations, Anukulya Sasankalpa, Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. So, with Ramananda Rai, this discussion is very, very important because this discussion, this 8th chapter of Madhya Leela, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu happened to visit on the request of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. After Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya got transformed, he said, my Lord, now I understand. Now I understand the glory of Ramananda Rai. When you go to South, please at Vidyanagar, don't miss the opportunity to meet this person. Please give your mercy to him also. Ramananda Rai. I thought he was a very sentimental person. I thought he was just bhavuk. It's like Prakashananda said, bhavuk hoya na cho bhavuke rasane. Bhavuk means very sentimental guy. But now, having received your mercy, I understand what an amazing association I had. I never realized that. So please meet. And this whole chapter describes meeting with Ramananda Rai. He was a big governor of that province. And he was being carried in palanquin, and Brahmanas were reciting, walking in the front, and he was coming to take bath. Can you imagine? This is way of style of taking bath. They come, all these Brahmanas are singing Vedic hymns, and he comes and gets down and takes bath. But he is a Shudra from the Vedic standard. So he comes and then he sees Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya sees him, he's sitting on the bank of the river, like effulgent form. Lord Chaitanya is sitting there, and he sees it. Immediately understands this must be Ramananda Rai. And then he takes bath. Lord Chaitanya wants to run to him and embrace him. Imagine, after 24 years in this pastime, he's meeting, like Radharani is meeting Vishakha Sakhi. So this is internal kind of thing. So he's eager, but then he restrains himself. He's a sannyasi. And Ramananda Rai takes bath and comes out and sees this effulgent personality sitting there, powerfully built and wearing the saffron effulgent. And he goes and falls down at his feet, and then they embrace and bathe each other tears of affection and love. And then he says, oh my Lord, don't touch me. The mere fact that you are touching me proves that you are Supreme Personality of God. Otherwise, I am untouchable. How can you even do this? You are a sannyasi, you are a Brahman. Rest of renunciates. So in this way, and seeing, they embrace and start crying, but looking at the general mass of people, they're like bewildered. Kya ho raha hai? This is a sannyasi, he's embracing this person. So they restrain themselves, and Lord Chaitanya says, we will meet in the evening. So appointment is fixed. And then evening again, he stays with some Brahmana's house and takes prasad. Evening, he comes with a servant, and then they start meeting and start discussing Krishna Katha. And it goes on long, but what is explained here is, please speak about Sadhya Tattva. What is the ultimate goal of life? That's the discussion with Ramananda Rai. And Lord Chaitanya is taking the role of a student. And Lord, is asking questions. And Ramananda Rai is replying. So, what do you think? And he speaks Varnashram. Varnashram Acharvata Purushena Brahman Vishnur Aradhyate Panta Nanya Tattva. Varnashram is the ultimate goal of life. Lord Chaitanya said, Eho Bahya Agikahoa. This is external. It's more external. Is there Eho Bahya? Again, you go higher. Then he says, doing karma, karmarpanam. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yanchuhosi dadasi tat kurush madarpanam. He said, Eho Bahya Agikahoa. This is external. Pick something higher. And then he says, giving up work, sarvodharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja. He said, Eho Bahya Agikahoa. The external karma sannyas is one thing. But what else? He said, Jnana Mishra. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nashochati Nakanchati Samasarveshu Mat Bhaktim Lavate. Eho Bahya. And then he says, Jnana Shunya Bhakti. And as soon as he speaks about Jnana Shunya and quotes a beautiful verse where he says that giving up fruitive results, giving up mental speculation, giving up any attachment to gross or subtle siddhis, one who engages in pure devotional service. Thane sthita shrutigatam tanuvang manobhir ye jnane prayasa udapasya namanta eva jivanti sannmukharitam bhavadhiya vartam. Thane sthita shrutigatam tanuvang manobhir ye prayasho ajita jito. The Lord is ajita, but he's never to be conquered. But a devotee with pure devotional service can conquer. And as soon as he hears Eho Hoy, till then he was telling Eho Bahya. It's all external, it's superficial, the real stuff. You tell me the real. Anavrata, removing all the avaran, jnana karmadi anavratam, anukulyena Krishna anushilanam. So that he approves. And I said, thank you so much. Then he says, is there anything higher? And then for each step, the dasyaras, servitorship, then sakhya, then vatsalya. And then finally he says, is there something higher? And he speaks about madhurya ras. How this is the highest. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this is described. Lord having this beautiful Ras Leela with the gopis. And Lord Chaitanya said, I'm extremely happy that you have come. And then he says, is there something higher that you can tell me? And Ramananda Rai says, till now, no one in this world had ever asked me higher than this. What can be more higher than this? But there is, my Lord. I am like an instrument and you are like a player of the instrument. I don't know. I'm just speaking. You're just making me speak. It's interesting. He said, I am like a veena and you are like the person. Nudisoru neevu. Naan veene, neevu nudistha idiri, not yaar matad. So, and then he starts in that mood. He says, I just don't know what I'm speaking, but I'm going on speaking. And then he speaks about how Krishna left all the gopis in the rasa dance. Then Srimati Radharani disappeared. Anayaradito nunam Bhagavan Haririshwara. So he quotes that verse and several other verses from various other sources, Vedic scriptures. And Mahaprabhu is so pleased. And he said, go on. Is there something higher that you can give? This is the time he says, this is impossible. I don't know what I am speaking. It is you who are making me speak and you are hearing. This is the reason why it is being told here. What a brilliant example. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, all the chapters, Adi, Madhya and Anta Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, beginning of the chapter, he gives the essence of the chapter in the form of a Sanskrit verse. One of our devotees had compiled a small booklet. It consisted of only Sanskrit verses of every chapter beginning. It is so nectarian. So here is one such nectarian. This is how Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying what is being described in this chapter. Sancharya Rama Bhida Bhakta Meghe Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani Gaurabdhi Retair Amuna Vitirnais Tadhyatva Ratnalayatam Prayati. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is known as Gauranga, is the ocean of all conclusive knowledge of devotional service. So imagine there is an ocean. From the ocean, the water evaporates during summer season. And that forms the cloud. And the cloud goes, hits a mountain or dissolves and becomes a rivulet. And the river is going back to the ocean. So a foolish child may think the ocean would have dried up had the river not come and supplied water. But actually, where does the river get its water from? It's from the ocean. Just like one day Narada Muni was flying in the skyways and suddenly he looked down. He was going above Ujjain Airways, the Narada Airways. And he looked down and I saw a very funny sight. Here is Sandipani Muni sitting there and there are two little shaven-headed kids, 5-year-old. How old are you? 9 years. Younger than this. 9 years, correct. Like this. Can you please stand up? Krishna Balram were like this. Now you can sit down. Of course, one additional fact, they were shaven-headed. Beautiful Shikha. Both are sitting there. And Sandipani Muni is instructing them. And Narada says, Vaha Prabhu, kya teri mahima apar. You are the one, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo Vedanta krit veda videvacha. Ultimately, it's all coming from you. You tene brahma hridaya adikavaye. Krishna played on his flute. And that flute sound entered Brahmaji's 8 ears. And then came out. So that, the Gayatri mantra, from which came the whole creation, Omkara, and then from there came the whole creation. So you gave it to first to Brahma, and then Brahma gave it in that disciplic succession. In that, Sandipani Muni has come. Like from the ocean, the river is coming, and now the river via Sandipani Muni is back entering the ocean. It appears that Krishna is humbly listening from his Guru. Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru. But now he's taking the role to tell us how to understand this knowledge. Without a proper Guru, you can't understand. So here is Lord Chaitanya, the source, the ocean of all Vedantic conclusion. And now he's humbly hearing. Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Kenenai, Jai Krishna Tattva Vetta Sei Guru Hai. It's not about a sannyasi. Whoever knows the science of Krishna is fit to become a guru and deliver the whole world. So, Ramanand Rai is he can't understand what he's speaking. He says, I don't know, but I'm just speaking. And Lord Chaitanya is relishing. And then he says, finally he says, if at all there is something higher, please let me hear. He says, no, I can't. And then he says, still, since you are asking, I have composed a poem. I'm going to speak that to you. You know, it's called Prema Vilasa Vivarta. Don't ask me what it is. Some suspense should be there so that you'll go back to the books. And if you don't have Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can place an order. Buy it today. So, Prema Vilasa Vivarta, and he starts speaking. Immediately, Lord Chaitanya becomes so shy and covers his mouth. Bas, ho gaya. Dizzy heights you have taken me. Bas. This, people can't digest it. Keep quiet. It's the most sweetest, intimate interactions of Radha and Krishna. So, anyway, back to where we are today. We are here. And this is like a super multi-storied building, 160 floors. And we are not even standing on the ground. We are standing in the basement and looking. Sometimes, you have to, literally you'll fall over. If you try to look at the top. So truly, the conclusion, Anarpita Charinchirat Karunaya Avatirana Kalau Samarpaitum Unnata Ujjala Rasam Sabhakti Shriyam. It is unimaginable what Lord Chaitanya has come to give. Never given before. Sabha Avatara Sara Shiromani. No other incarnation ever has given this. The highest thing being given in Kali Yuga to the lowest people. So that's what Lord Chaitanya comes to give. That's why Namo Mahavadanyaya. Because who are we? Prayena Alpayusha, Kalavasmin Yugejana, Manda, Sumandamatiyo, Mandabhagya. That's our situation. Lifespan is, by the time you understand, books are important, your time to go. Not enough to read the whole books. So Alpayusha, Kalau, usme bhi itna jhagda. Too many anxieties. Mandaha, lazy. Sumandamatayo. Even by chance, somehow you overcome laziness. I want to understand what is the goal of life. So many so-called societies to misguide. Mandabhagya, so unfortunate because so many disturbances. Upadhrita. And therefore, patra apatra na dekhe sthana sthan, jai jahan paye tahan kare premadan. That is why Lochandas Thakur says that no other merciful incarnation. What is the proof? Jagai and Madai are the proof of this. Absolutely no qualification. One day, totally drunk and loitering in the streets, hoodlums. And next day, totally intoxicated with love of God and dancing with Mahavishnu and Balaram, bouncing off their body in Shiva Sangha. There should be gradual, systematic, organic progress. But this is Lord Chaitanya. Extreme. From extreme intoxicated state to another extreme intoxicated state. Nothing in between. Here to there. So, the kind of thing that actually we are reading, truly, if we understand what we are actually reading, immediately we will faint. Since nobody is fainting, we are actually not understood. So, all the best. Someday, Gauranga bolite hobe pulaka sharir, Hari Hali bolite nayane vavenir. Someday will happen. But right now, for that, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We just need to hear. So sometimes when we hear these things, there is a chance that we may become a little disappointed or maybe depressed a little bit. जिस चीज का बातचीत कर रहे हैं, हम हैं कहाँ? Recently we were discussing in one particular meeting, managerial meeting, as is and to be. As is means what is the situation of ours, and to be means where we are supposed to go. This is how they take, assessment of the situation to improve an organization. As is and to be. And then you chart out a strategy, how to go from here to there. Truly, if we see, where are we? Kaliyuga creatures, struggling with our senses, struggling with our mind, struggling with our relationships, struggling just to make the two ends meet. But hai kya? Shuddha prem, Golok Vrindavan. We speak as if Kengeri Gok Bantega. बस ऐसे जाके आ रहा हूँ. कहा गोलोक वृंदावन, प्रभु जी की तरफ गुजर गए, गोलोक गए. वाह, as if Golok is next door neighborhood. We speak so casually about it, but in the 6th canto of Bhagavatam, just before Chitraketu Maharaj's thing, it says Muktanam api siddhanam Narayana Parayana Sudurlabha Shantatma Kotishu Vibham. How rare is this? Even Muktatmas Arati Korena Brahma Adi Devagane. Even Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva stand in queue just to get one Gaurarthi. और हमको बोलते तू करना, मेरा नाम कल बोला था ना, मेरा किसी और को सेवा दी. कितना बार हर रोज गाता है. That is our struggle. They are standing in queue just to get one glimpse, and our situation is totally. So, even to just begin to appreciate that what is it that actually Lord Chaitanya is giving. Yamaraj fainted. Can you imagine? Yamaraj understands because he's one of the Mahajans. Proof, he fainted as soon as he heard. ये कौन है ये जो नाच रहे दो लोग? महाराज पूछो मत ये कल क्या थे और आज क्या हो गए. कौन है ये जगह मत है? बोला आपको लिस्ट बताता हूँ इनका. क्रेडिट कार्ड, डेबिट कार्ड सब है मेरे पास. Chitragupta started telling. Actually, Yamaraj fainted. When Narada received, he went mad. His veena flew away. When Shiva heard his Digam, he actually from
kya ambara? He wears this charmambara, he became Digambara. And he didn't even realize. Lord Shiva didn't hear. His Trishul flew away, Damru flew away. So this is only for our understanding, that's all. So this is the situation that we are being offered. So now comes the question, practical question. Maharaj, abhi kare kya bolo? Where do we actually, how do we make a progress? So when we speak, when we hear about these things, two things can happen. One is, if a person is really sincere, he's bound to go into depression. बोले, इस जीवन में मैं उसको प्राप्त कर पाऊंगा? Impossible. I fail in the first verse of Nectar of Instruction. 11th is Radha Kund. First verse is Vacho Vegam. वही खत्म हो गया हमारा. In this lifetime, if we can do the first phrase, and we are talking about Radha Kund ja kya hai? You know, Vacho Vegam. Okay, कैसे तो मुंह बंद करके रखा, बापूजी के 3 बंदर सील करके रखा. Still, Manovedam खत्म. उसको कौन सा लगाएंगे? How will you restrict that? Manasa Vegam, Jihva Vegam, Udara, Upastha Vegam. So it's actually so high, or it can make us into a hypocrite. Speak about something and we are something. So sometimes you may wonder, what are we talking about? So therefore, there is a professed value and there is a perceived value. The professed value is pure love of God, and the perceived value is just struggle to keep each other and stay with each other together. You know, somehow. His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj made a very interesting statement once. He said, beautiful and elegant temple structures and very attractive deity worship, sumptuous, tasty prasad, melodious kirtan, mind-boggling philosophical presentations attract people to our movement. But loving relationships amongst devotees keeps them in the long run. And that is why Rupa Goswami says, if you want to do all of these things, Vacho Vegam, if you want to do Utsahat Nishya Dhairya, if you want to do Atyahara Prayas to control all of these things, do's and don'ts, you have to have Dadati Pratigrihnati Guhyamakhyati Prichati Bhungte Bhojayate Chaiva Shadvidham Priti. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, this movement was started single-handedly. Just because of these 6 loving exchanges, it is expanding all over the world. It was one man, one old man, 70-year-old man, with just 40 rupees in hand, practically no resources, no energy, no support, no financial support, nothing. But he had a lot of things to share. Krishna Prema, his knowledge, his example of surrender, and for us, his institution. So it's like that. It's too high. But the solace for all of us, we were discussing the other day in one particular program, ultimately we need to take shelter of Krishna. Right? This is the essence. Mam ekam sharanam braja. To answer upon. Mam eva prapadyante mayam etantaram. You know. So, but Krishna seems a distant reality for us today. It's too distant reality. We really don't know. सचमुच में है क्या कृष्ण? Is it possible? Sometimes you even get a doubt, does he really exist? How am I kind of situation like that? So that's the ultimate ashray, shelter. And we are here. How do we actually relate? So we need to have some kind of a via medium by which we can experience that shelter through immediate sources. And eventually, probably we'll reach to that someday, hoping against hope. Hope is not on our endeavor. Hope is on Krishna's mercy. That's the only Gurunana hoile, Kandiya Kandiya Pranana Rakhibar. I'm only made up of the mercy of the Lord. The mere fact that I'm still surviving, this is a proof that Krishna exists and his mercy is still functioning. This is the proof, standing proof, sitting proof. So, how do we see that shelter? Trying to see Krishna, Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra, Sarvam Chamai Pashyati. So it begins with creating a wonderful facility where people can experience that shelter. A wonderful association of devotees, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's not just the structure, it's that Sangha, which is actually the shelter. In that shelter, we can experience shelter at most grosser and little subtler level. Then faith comes that yes, I have faith that Krishna is there. The other day I was talking to one lady. She's going through very tough time. Husband died of cancer. And the son is just kind of passing out and taking up not taken up a job yet. And suddenly some situation came where big amount of money she has to pay, otherwise, everything will go away like that. So she happened to was calling me and I was discussing. But she said, Prabhuji, right now I'm in a very fearful situation. But they have little Jagannath Baldev Subhadra at home. She said, Prabhuji, but andar se na, Jagannath will do something. And I know heart of heart, I know this will also go. But right now, externally, I'm feeling a little bit scared. Itna bada aa gaya, how will I handle it? How will I deal with it? So, on the body level, the shelter is roti kapda makan. That's why see Krishna in roti. Say Anna Amrita Pav Radha Krishna Gunagao. Otherwise, this is immediate shelter. Yajna Shishtasana Santo Muchante Sarva Kilvishai. Hunjate Te Togam Papa. To remove all the uncontaminated and also nourish us through his mercy. So, do we see Krishna there? Take shelter in prasad. And like Kulavecha Sridhar told Lord Chaitanya, the birds are covering with something. I also have something to cover my body. Providing. And then there is a shelter above my head. Proof of being sheltered is the first installment. How do you feel how do you know you're sheltered? No anxiety. Who's telling? Not me. Prahlad Maharaj is telling. To whom? His father, Hiranyakashipu, who had everything that people turn to for shelter in ample. He was controlling the whole universe, including the demigod whom we turn to for shelter. He had them under his control. But Prahlad Maharaj is telling, Sada samudvigna dhiya. Udvigna means anxiety. Samudvigna means sufficient anxiety. Sada, 24 hours, 365 days a year. My dear father, Tat sadhu manya. You're asking me what I learned best in the school? Not twinkle, twinkle, little star. Here I'll tell you what I learned in the school. The best thing that I learned in school. Tat sadhu manya. Asuravari, oh best of the asuras. You may not like this kind of a address. Hiranyakashipu, it was so pleasing to his ears. Best of the asuras. You recognize. Tat sadhu manni asuravarya dehina. Whoever has got a material body. Sada samudvigna dhiyam. Why? Asadgrahat. They're catching hold of something temporary and thinking, I want permanent shelter. The Lord is eternal, the living entity is eternal, and our relationship, Sanatana, Mama Ivamshu Jivalu, anything other than that will cause us anxiety. However, right now, the first thing is anxiety. And what gives us immediate relief? Few things give us immediate relief. On a gross body, it is food, house, and clothes. Then there is a subtle body that also needs shelter. There are some emotional needs, acknowledgement, appreciation, sense of self-worth, opportunity to express one's abilities, nature, skills. These also give shelter. When you express your nature, your abilities, and it is acknowledged and it is appreciated, it is recognized, we don't want recognition. But still, it's a sense of, chalo, my existence is worth. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is that supreme personality and who was experiencing the highest love in Gambhira, was so sensitive to the need of Shankaranand, who was his pillow practically, who was kept because Mahaprabhu in his ecstatic love, in the ultimate stages of experiencing love, he would rub his face against the wall and he would hurt, bleeding. So therefore, one devotee was kept in his room so that to check him from doing this. It was very cold and he would sleep. Sometimes he would go to sleep. He was a simple devotee. रात को सोना है ना उसको. He would sleep off. Mahaprabhu, in that highest ecstatic symptom, was sensitive that Shankaranand was shivering. So he took the blanket and put it. Physical care. He was experiencing the highest, but he was sensitive to other men's needs. A physical need. Ramdas in South India, who was in emotional anxiety, that how could Ravana take away Sita? I can't eat. He is emotionally so disturbed. He called Mahaprabhu for prasad and he didn't cook at all. Mahaprabhu said, it came at 12 o'clock. Appointment diya tha, aaya. No, Lakshman has gone. He has not yet come. Then Mahaprabhu understood. And he somehow pacified him. 3 o'clock they take prasad. And then Mahaprabhu left and went about 160 kilometers away. On another day, he found this Puran, Agni Puran, where it is mentioned that it was Maya Sita. He took the original copy. The photocopy was made and put there. And the original script was brought by Lord Chaitanya. He walked all the way just to relieve the anxiety of Ramdas. Because emotionally he was so disturbed. Vasudev Datta, so magnanimous like Prahlad Maharaj. Whatever came, he would just distribute it to others. Lord Chaitanya, the giver of love of God, is telling Shivananda saying, hey, you take care of his finances. He doesn't know how to manage his finances. This is Lord Chaitanya, the ultimate personality of Godhead, who's come to preach pure devotional service. But actually, he is so sensitive to these things. So, the subtle body also needs some needs. Everyone needs to feel secure, some security. Everyone needs social need. Because man is a social being. He needs some social needs, doing things together, discussing together, visiting places together. It's a need. That's more pleasing. That's more actually satisfying. These are more subtler and more deeper needs. And they are real. They are real needs. So, Srila Prabhupada not only gave the highest philosophy, but also gave a wonderful institution whereby, while addressing the immediate gross and subtler needs, people's focus can enhance towards taking the ultimate shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. But it won't happen overnight. This journey, our goal is fixed. But can we make that journey? And therefore it is so important that this kind of a wonderful facility that Srila Prabhupada has given is not just the physical structure alone, but the spirit behind this institution. And what is this meant for? Prabhupada gave in his 7 purposes of ISKCON. It's so beautiful. Come together with each other and keeping Krishna in the center. One of the purposes of ISKCON. So keeping that spirit alive. We were discussing just recently. The question is, we are so busy, doing our other responsibilities, physical responsibilities, occupational responsibilities, social responsibilities. As long as we have a body, all these responsibilities are there. And then there is the spiritual responsibility. Manushya Janma Oiloja. Radha Krishna na bhajiya. Janiya Suniya Vishak. Yes, that's the ultimate responsibility. But aligning everything else in that, So we are discussing about Ramananda Rai, who is our discussion on love of God. But that Acharya who demonstrated it is Raghunath Das Goswami, Prayojana Acharya. And what was the instruction given by Lord Chaitanya to Raghunath Das Goswami? When he prematurely ran from home, Lord Chaitanya chastised him. And he said, Markata Vairagya na karo, Loka dikhaiya, Yatha yogya vishay bhunja anasakta hoya. Markata Vairagya na karo. Don't act like a monkey, externally showing renunciate, but internally having a lot of desire to do things. So what you should do? Yatha yogya vishaya bhunja. The senses are meant to be satisfied. Not, what is the difference between sense gratification and sense satisfaction? The senses are meant to be satisfied, but senses are not meant to be gratified. What is the difference? Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains 3 things. So whenever senses doesn't mean only tongue, but all the senses. So before gratifying the senses or satisfying the senses, we should ask 3 questions. Number 1, is it necessary? Number 2, is it favorable? Number 3, if it is favorable and necessary, it should be accepted as a mercy of the Lord. If this consciousness is maintained, then it doesn't matter. Padma Patra Vivamasa. You are like a lotus leaf in the world, but not of the world. It was very easy to speak, but so therefore Lord Chaitanya said, Yatha Yogya Vishay Bhunjo. Yatha Yogya. As much as necessary, you should live properly. Yatha Yogya Vishay Bhunjo. But Anasakta Hoya. Don't become attached. Use it, but don't become attached. How do we do that? Because in this world, when we take responsibility, we become attached. And if we become detached, we become irresponsible. So Lord Krishna teaches detached responsibility. How is that? Karmanyeva adhikaraste. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Be attached to doing your side of the responsibility, but be detached from expectation of what others will be able to deliver. That's not in your hands. Take responsibility for what's in our hands. Be detached from what is not in your hands. That's up to Krishna. So yatha yogya vishay bhunjo anasakta hoya. And then antare nishtha koro bahye loka vyavahar achirat Krishna tumay koribe uddhar. Internally crave, long, aspire that someday I want to attract the attention of Krishna, mercy of Krishna. I will do anukulya sankalpa, whatever is favorable, to attract the mercy of Krishna. Because that's the only purpose of life. Somehow to attract the mercy of Krishna. But antare nishtha karo, this is internally. This is not for exposure. This is not for show. No. Bahya loka vyavahar. Externally, like any other individual. So much so that people may not even recognize that this person has such internal aspirations. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, such an exalted personality. But externally, even Mukunda, even Gadadhar Pandit could not recognize Pundarik. Pundarik Vidyanidhi was a huge landholder. And he had this long hair, oiled with some, fragrant oil. And he was having two mirrors. And again, he would kind of look and adjust his hairs in between. And he had this hookah. We can't imitate, of course. And there's two people fanning his, and he's sitting like that, chewing, And Lord Chaitanya said, visit Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So Gadadhar Pandit, the simple renunciate, he was so eager. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, I'm going to meet a devotee. And he walks in and says, address hoyi hai kya? Hey, postman se pooch le. He's telling, Mukunda, kidhar le aaya? Where did you bring me? Mukunda understands. Because Mukunda's house in Bangladesh, we had gone to Bangladesh. Pundarik Dham, even today, 33 acres of land still belongs to Pundarik Vidyanidhi's place, still there. And a huge, beautiful temple is there, thanks to Jayapatak Swami Maharaj. A building everywhere, huge temple everywhere. 2 kilometers from there, Mukunda and Vasudeva, the two brothers were staying. So Mukunda was from the same village. So Mukunda understood. Thoda bewildered ho gaya hai Gadadhar Pandit. He said, don't worry. Abhi dikhata hu ye kaun hai. Andar ki baat dikhata hu. You are seeing externally, don't judge externally. And he started singing one verse of, Srimad Bhagavatam, which Uddhava relished and went into madness. Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam jigham sayapaya yadat prasadhi. How fortunate is that sister of Bakasur, Putana. She went to kill him and feed poison. And he sucked her breast and gave her abode, mother's position, assistant to Mother Yashoda. Who else will we accept as a master by rejecting everything else? Now he put the right password which opened the file. He knew which password to use. Pundarik Vidyanidhi was trying to hide, very materialistic person. Put the password and wow, volcano kind of erupted of his love for Krishna. And he was like tearing the pillow and everything, breaking the pot went and everything went astray. They were like mad and 10 people couldn't hold him. Gadadhar Pandit realized, my God, I did a big mistake. The only way to repent is to take initiation from him. Actually, with the permission of Lord Chaitanya, he got initiated by Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Right. I didn't understand. So this is Lord Chaitanya, Srivas Thakur, any of these people, externally very simple. Antare nishtha karo, bahya loka vyavahar. Krishna also says this in 1/4 of a verse. This sutra, the art of living, people talk about the art of living. Krishna is giving the science of the art of living in just 1/4 of a verse. Mam anusmara yudhyaja. This is it. Internally, satatam kirtayanto mam. Kirtaniya sada hari. But mam anusmara, externally, fight. You may say, of course, each one has a different battlefield. You all have a different battlefield. And the battlefield changes from morning, afternoon, and evening. Changes from one person to another person. Changes from one stage of life to another stage of life. It keeps on changing. Our battle, but we have to prepare ourselves. Kabhi koi attack kar dega. Be ready. But that readiness comes with proper discipline, good training, so that we are prepared for any kind. We take precautions. So tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha mai arpita manobuddhi mame vaishyasi asamshaya. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not only showed the highest goal of life, extracted the highest goal of life from Ramananda Rai, but through Ramananda Rai himself and so many wonderful associates of his at Jagannath Puri, in Mayapur, in Navadvip, he showed to the world how to do this, because he came in Kali Yuga. He is Kali Yuga Yuga Avatar. So internally, as Sachinandan Maharaj says so beautifully, he says, obstacle is what you see when you lose sight of the goal of life. So when you are focused on the goal, then obstacle becomes stepping stone to the goal. But if you focus on the obstacles and lose track of the goal, then obstacle becomes so big that you feel overwhelmed. That's why Kunti says, Tvai me ananya vishaya matir madhupate asakrit ratim udduhata madha gangaiva ugamat. Let my consciousness flow towards your lotus feet, my Lord, like Mother Ganga flows towards the ocean. You know, so we have to have that kind of discipline and sadhana, so that love for Krishna is aspiration is there moving, and then do your best and leave the rest to Krishna. That's all. So I won't go further. I think I've spoken a lot. Thank you very much. Srila Ramananda Rai ki, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maya ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for the nectarian class. So it was certainly very soothing to the heart. But I have a very small question, a humble request. If you can help us to understand Krishna as how we can transform ourselves in understanding Krishna from an impersonal point of view to a personal point of view. Because I feel most of us are stuck in a particular way where we cannot see Krishna as a person. We only perceive it in form of energies or various other ways, as I said, in terms of prasadam, food, shelter, clothing, all these things. Most of us, or myself, I feel that this is all in a impersonal front. But how to transform this impersonalism into a personal, help us throw some light on that. Very thankful to you.
One time, one young lady, she asked me a question. She said, Prabhuji, there is a statement that lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. Lava, which is 1/12 of a second. How is it possible that a moment's association can give perfection? And I was also thinking, sahi baat hai yaar. What she's saying is so true. I'm associating for such a long time. कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है. There is no transformation. So, but then Krishna inspired, I think, I prayed intensely. And I told this lady, said, when Haridas Thakur was captured after the Qazi complained to the governor that he is chanting these names, he must capture him and punish him. So Haridas Thakur was captured and brought to the governor to be produced before the governor via the prison house because he was sit there only. And in the prison at that time were all these pious Hindus who do some kirtan and all that, therefore they were put inside. So all these pious guys, they came to know that some Mahatma is coming. Some pure devotee is actually being captured and is brought. So they were eagerly wanting to just have a glance. So they were like, holding that rod and they were like chataka birds, waiting. Suddenly, who will go? Pata nahi kab aayenge, kuch notice. So just, you may go like that, you may just pass by. We don't want to miss him. So you just want to have a glance. And Haridas Thakur came there and looked at them. And they were like fully, without blinking eyes, like demigods. They were just focused. And Haridas Thakur looked at them and I said, I'm praying that you may remain as you are eternally. So they were like shocked. Kya Maharaj? Kya bol diya? Yeah, you want to get out, that's why you're looking. So Haridas Thakur said, no, you misunderstood me. I gave you a good blessing. He said, you are in a helpless situation and you're desperately seeking shelter. And you're trying to look at a genuine representative of the Lord and trying to seek liberation from this existence and to take by taking shelter of the Lord. This is the consciousness you remain always. That's what I'm saying. As far as you're getting out of this thing, in 2-3 days you will go out. And it's a fact. After Haridas Thakur rose from the dead, when he was thrown, everyone was released. So the point is, what Haridas Thakur said is a very important thing. May you remain in this consciousness. What is that consciousness? You have realized that I'm in a very precarious situation. Chanakya Pandit says, Smara nityam anityatam. Never forget the temporary nature of this world. 1 second the situation will change, completely change. Whoever imagined, ek din India band hota hai to halat hota hai. Who imagined that 1.5 years, nobody will come out, whole of India. India band. How long? 1 week? 2 weeks? 1.5 years? Who imagined all the family members will stay together forcefully, looking at each other for 1.5 years? So, and how does that come? By constantly hearing, by regularly hearing. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Because the scriptures teach us the temporary nature of this world and the eternal nature of that world. So the more and more we constantly hear, we don't fall into the illusion to, get focused away from the eternal nature and to think that this temporary is permanent. So prioritizing So by constantly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, what is Srimad Bhagavatam? Naradji was asked, okay, you met the Bhakti Vedantas. What made you into eternal associate of the Lord from a very, 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 demeaning condition of the son of a maid servant? So he said, I met the Bhakti Vedantas, I took their remnants, I heard from them, but after they left, what did you do? And then he says one verse, and Prabhupada writes in that purport, I think 1626. Please read this verse and its purport. I think it is 1626. The verse is, Namani anantasya hatatrapah pathan, guhyani bhadrani kritani cha smaran, gam paryatan tushtamana gataspraha, kalam pratikshan vimado vimatsara. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, begins the purport by saying, the life of a sincere devotee is explained in a nutshell in this verse. So first, Namani Anantasya Hatatrapah Pathan, constantly chanting the holy name. Guhyani Bhadrani Kritani, the most confidential, Bhadrani, auspicious, Kritani, all the activities of the Lord, the qualities, the pastimes, Kritani cha smaran. Kam Paryatan, traveling all over, Tushtamana, satisfied in whatever situation the Lord has kept us. Jai Ravidi Rakhe Ram, Tai Ravidi Rahiye. Sitaram, Sitaram Kahiye. So, Tushtamana, Gataspraha, no other desire other than Him. Kalam Pratikshan, waiting for the time, whenever time comes. Kalam Vimado, without becoming proud that I am such a fortunate person, look at these unfortunate souls. No, it's my good fortune that somehow I got this mercy. Vimado, Vimatsara, without envious. Or trying to compete with others, taking others' position. So, lage raho. In essence, the process will work. Have faith, Rajavidya, Rajaguhya. Pratyaksha avagavan dharmya. It will give. Utsahat, Nishchayat, Dhairya. And one of the reasons, actually, even Radharani feels like this. Did you know that? She also feels, I'm so impersonal, I have no love for you. If I had love, I would have died long ago. So, something to be hopeful. Yes, back to round one. Very rounded kind of a view. Yes, Mahanlal.
Prabhu, this interaction between Ramananda Rai and Mahaprabhu, there are many stages which are shared. And the risk that sometimes we run is to undermine. And, again, as you mentioned in your own lecture, that we all have our focus on the Goloka Vrindavan. But my understanding also is that the stages are actually mentioning the whole process, also the path. The fact that Varnashram is mentioned in the discussion between Ramananda Rai and Mahaprabhu, it's a very big thing in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then the subsequent stages of Jnana Mishra Bhakti or Pure Bhakti, and then association and being in the association of the devotees, and then Madhurya Bhava and all those stages which are mentioned. So how to understand also the process and not just, leave everything else just for the, end of, Madhurya relationship with Lord.
Therefore, it's a package deal. It's a package deal. It's not just one part, it's the whole package. Just like, okay, let's give the example of a satellite that is to be launched in the sky. What is that? Beyond the orbit, outer space. So if you see that, sometimes when you go to that launch pad, you see that capsule is only so much. But then there are phase 1, phase 2 booster rockets. It's like a 5-story building. That whole rocket, if you see, and what do? Niche se aag laga dete. and just goes like that, It just goes up, 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 up. And the first one is burnt out, then it drops. The second one takes over. Just goes. And that drops, the third one. And the last one pushes it out of the atmosphere. Because that gravity pull is there. So the satellite can't go beyond gravity on its own. You need a powerful booster rocket to actually push it, throw it up there. But once it goes beyond the atmosphere, then you drop, then it's a burden. Then that same booster thing is a burden. Every kilo counts. That's why it is shed at that time. And then the space beyond. And now it is no more, it's beyond the gravitational pull. So this body can be compared to those, the situation. The soul is part of Krishna, but right now it is encaged in a body. And the needs of the body are compared to the atmosphere. It pulls us down. Sharira avidya jal, jadendriya tahe kal. It's like pulling us down. So the Varnashram system, the scriptures, the guidance that we receive from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra are like the booster rockets. First is Varnashram. That is the first become a human being. Afterwards a Vaishnava. Vaishnava बड़ी बात है. तो पहले मनुष्य बन पहले. 4 नियम तोड़ता है और बोलता है मैं वैष्णव. Kalir chela, galir kanthi hater mala. Let us not be Kali chela. Let's. Prabhupada said, my followers will be recognized the fact that they are first-class gentlemen, which means be a good human being. So follow all the Varnashram. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Chaitanya Shikshamrita speaks about secondary rules. He calls all of these secondary rules Varnashram. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarja. He says, first of all, one should follow all the Varnashram rules very nicely. And then gradually, we should take up the Krishna conscious activities. What are the Krishna conscious activities? Essentially 5. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan Mathura Vasa Srimurtira Shraddhaya Sevan Sakala Sadhana Sreshtha Ei Pancha Anga Krishna Prema Janmai Ei Panchira Alpa Sangha. So there are 5 essential things Rupa Goswami says. Of all the 64 items, these 5 are the most important because these are direct devotional service. Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathuravas, staying in the place where the Lord resides, and Srimurtira Shraddhaya Sevan. Sakala Sadhana Sreshtha Ei Pancha Anga. Krishna Prema Janmaye Ei Panchera Alpa Sangha. Even one of them can give you Krishna Prema. So, centered around these 5 activities, all these are just like initially these 5 activities are like the satellite, and all these are big, these are very prominent. ये इतना बड़ा booster जो दिखता है ना अंदर है उतना ही, but this is all prominent. So then it goes up, up, up like that. So when do you realize that this is becoming a burden? Number 1, those that are unfavorable. The scriptures do recommend some kind of animal sacrifices. But having advanced in Vaishnava principle, even if it means for Pitru thing, you have to do some animal sacrifice. No, instead of that, something else I will do. But I will not do that part. So all the items that are unfavorable, at one time it was favorable. From animal to become a human being, regulate yourself. Instead of eating breakfast, lunch and dinner non-veg, महीने में एक बार खाओ, काली को भोग लगा के चलेगा. So regulate, come at one time, then you kind of give that up. And then whatever is time consuming. So I used to do this and that and this, that now it is becoming time consuming. Because when this starts expanding in your life, the other starts automatically goes to that place. But before even this, if we want, if we give this up, न रहेगा बांस न बजेगी बांसुरी. पहले भी कुछ था नहीं, वैसे भी हम लोग उधर उधर घूमते थे, खाते पीते थे. Varnashram at least brought us some regulation. So from Varnashram you move to soul's activity. These are eho bahya means these are not a goal in and of itself, but these are facilities to come to that platform. So that should expand automatically, and other things should, like even Lord Chaitanya, he followed all the way to Varnashram rules very clear, because traditionally that was what was appreciated. He wouldn't eat in the second class Brahmanas out also. Only once he ate from Sanodia Brahman in Mathura, because Madhavendra Puri had eaten from. Otherwise, he followed all the Varnashram rules. As a sannyasi, he was so strict. He did follow, even though he spoke Ehobahya, but he lived it very scrutinizing. So that is there. But later it says he would eat and bathe and as a auto mode. It was only happening auto mode, but he was actually absorbed fully. That's what Antara Nishtha Karo, Bahya Loka Vyavaha. Why? Yadyad Acharati Sreshtas Tatta Devetaro. Sayat Pramanam Kurti Loka. Because people need example. If this becomes socially irresponsible, it will be a wrong example for people as a Vaishnava. So while doing that, internally, one should, by constant, these 5 things, connection with these 5 things. Okay, it may not expand in terms of, but internally that expansion should happen. Taste for Bhagavatam, taste for association, taste for the holy name, taste for the deities, taste for association with in the holy dham. That should be internal aspiration. When will the day be mine? Gauranga bolite have pulaka shakti. Hari Hari boli de. This is lalasa mai. Kobe Gauravane Suradhani Tote Harade Krishna. He didn't go away straight away. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was a magistrate. He lived, but internally, Kobe Hobe Bolo Shahidi Nama. So it has to be seen that proper kind of a perspective. I hope that answers the question. Yeah. So one last question, Srinivas Prasad. Srinivas Prasad? Srivalaji, sorry.
Srivali.
I'm kind of
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
mixing.
Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. And the 3 that I kind of struck me was when you every time we have to contemplate, is it necessary? Is it favorable? And if these 2 meet, then it should be taken as Krishna's mercy. The question is, Prabhuji, if in case, and there are situations where we try to justify these 2 and fall down in situations. How do we and that fall down situation depresses us and again elevate us to that particular state is very difficult. So how do we how do we come back to that state, to that?
Once asked this question to His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. He gave that, the golden mean, giving us the golden mean. Not too much, not too less. So I asked Maharaj how to determine, how much is too much, how less is too less. Because mind can justify anything. So he said, I will give you the example of 2 Paramahamsa, devotees of the Lord, who are completely exalted devotees of the Lord. One is Raghunath Das Goswami, who would eat little palmful of buttermilk every other day and feeling how much time I'm spending sense gratification. And on the other hand, we have Bhima, Nitya Siddha Paramahamsa Bhagavat. Bhima is one of the Mahabhagavat. There is one beautiful verse from the South Indian scriptures. Anyway, I don't remember that verse now. Very beautiful verse. So in there it says, so coming back to this question, he said, Bhima, Kunti along with Pandavas would go for begging when they were in the forest. And they would, whatever would gather, Kunti would divide it into half. One half for Kunti and the 4 brothers, and one half for Bhima. And Bhima would be finishing quickly and watching at them, watching their plate. ठीक है यार, और थोड़ा खा लेते हैं. But Bhima karma vrukodara. When time came for them to escape from that Lakshagraha, Bhima said, "You all relax. Just get on to me." एक दो को गोद में ऐसा पकड़ा, दो को कंधे पे बैठाया, एक को पीछे लटकने को बोला, "You relax." And he ran. It is described in the Mahabharata. He ran with such speed that the trees were being thrown apart. And he ran from early morning or late night when it was burnt to till evening. Whole day was running full speed with all the 4 Pandavas and Kunti Devi hanging with that speed. And at the end, when they entered a deep forest and they felt that now it is safe, they said, Bhima is telling them, "You must be very tired. Now relax. You people go to sleep. I will keep watch. Because I am not tired." And that is the time when Bakasur comes. Bakasur senses. Sorry, not Bakasur. Hidimba. And Hidimbi comes. Hey, looks like there is a lunchbox here somewhere. Go there. And Hidimbi falls in love with her lunchbox. Oh, it's too good. It's so smart. So, if you can do this kind of, you can work for 5 people, eat for 5 people. So, you have to take a call. Never judge others. Don't look at others' plate. Look at what you have to do. A good thing to judge is, if you eat too much, you become lazy. If you eat too little, you become very weak. You decide. कितना खाना है, गाड़ी चलता रहा. So we need to decide. One devotee very nicely said, Allah Nodi, he was talking about the Yaduvamshis. Yaduvamshis, Krishna used to destroy all the other demoniac forces. But after that, Krishna said, now they have become burden on the earth. So at one time, what was useful, another time it may become burden. When the use is over, if a person stays too long in this world, he'll become a burden. ಯಾವುದೇ ಕೂಡ ಔಷಧಿ ಇಷ್ಟು ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೇದು, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅದೇ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಅ ಬರ್ಡನ್. ಊಟ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ತಿಂದ್ರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೇದು, ಯುಕ್ತಾಹಾರ ವಿಹಾರಸ್ಯ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ತಿಂದ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಬರ್ಡನ್ ಟು ದ ಬಾಡಿ. So yukta ahara viharasya, yukta karma sacheshtasa. But what that yukta is, one should be deeply thinking how best I can serve Krishna. If I eat, so I can be alert and active. So that's good. Not because of the tongue, but because of the belly. What is necessary or what is beneficial. That needs to be taken upon. And if you are really sincere, Krishna will give us. Matta smrtir jnanam upon. Hey, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ತಗೊಂಡ ನೆನ್ನೆ ತಗೊಂಡು ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ತಗೊಂಡಿನಿ, ಬೋಂಡ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ. We need to take a call and learn about the Shastra of food. Amazing. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhupada writes he must have been a very good cook because he describes all the items. Kya kya tha, how much was there, what was there. This is the highest scripture. Shlokas after shlokas, pages talk about food items. And then we are told, don't be attached to food. And it's described, Mahaprabhu fed them and they ate till here, till the neck. But you don't, yuktahara viharasya. So when you come to one level, then you don't see food. This is Krishna's mercy. In any form it comes. Luto. So we need to take a call. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Sai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari.
Hare Krishna. Let's express our gratitude to His Grace Radha Gopinath Prabhu for so wonderfully giving us a hope that although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give the topmost thing for all of the modern so fallen people, and with the patience and he continue taking shelter of the following the Varnashrama Dharma properly and inculcating the 5 prominent principles which Rupa Goswami has come, then eventually we may be able to reach the goal, keeping not to miss the goal from our focus. So let us express our gratitude to His Radha Gopinath Prabhu by chanting Hare Krishna mantra once. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. We are very happy that we got Prabhuji's association. At the same time, we are sad that previously we would get almost 1 to 2 days, but somehow at least this we are happy that we got short. But in the coming days, we request Prabhuji to if we can kindly plan to like how previously we used to get Prabhuji's association. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. So there is prasadam for all the devotees. Kindly can proceed to the prasadam hall and take prasadam. Hare
Now
Krishna.
for the real stuff.
Hare Krishna devotees, now we'll be ending the class as we have shown the darshan already at the start. So